Today is March 15, 2019, and we are at Raybrook Retirement Home in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We'll be interviewing Reverend Kenneth Ray Slager, who served in the U.S. Marine Corps during World War II. Kenneth Ray Slager was born on June 11, 1925, and his residence is 2111, that's 2111 Raybrook Avenue, Southeast, apartment 1006, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49546. And I, as the videographer and interviewer, and also the audio person, my name is Wallace Erickson. And I'm a volunteer interviewer with the History Department at Grand Valley State University, Allendale, Michigan. And this interview is being done as part of the Veterans History Project at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Now, Ken, what is your full name and your date of birth?
My full name is Kenneth Ray Slager. I was born on June 11, 1925.
And where is your place of birth? City and state?
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Which war did you serve in?
World War II, Second World War.
Okay. And what branch of service and what was your highest rank?
I was in the Marine Corps and I became a corporal.
Okay, thank you. Where did you serve? What theater of the war?
What theater?
What theater?
The Pacific.
Pacific, okay.
Island hopping.
Well, if you're born in Kalamazoo then, Ken, where did you grow up?
Just east of Kalamazoo in a community called Comstock.
I see. Mm-hmm. And what did your father do for a living then?
Well, he did a variety of jobs, but he ended up working for Upjohn Company.
Oh, I see. What did he do for them?
He worked in the lab where they ran their first runs to see how it would work in the production.
Yeah. Biological laboratory then, I assume.
Something like that.
Yeah. How many siblings did you have, brothers and sisters?
I had 2 sisters and 1 brother.
Okay.
I was the oldest.
Okay. And where did you go to high school then?
Well, after graduating from Christian school in Comstock, I went to Kalamazoo Christian High School. We rode our bicycles 4 miles to,
oh my.
to and from.
I see. You also went to Comstock Christian Elementary School, is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see.
Mm-hmm. 2-room school.
Oh my. Was it out in the country or in the little village of Comstock?
It was, it was part of the community. Yeah.
I see.
Mm-hmm. Went to church there too, of course.
What church did you go to then in Comstock?
It was Comstock, CRC.
Christian Reformed Church?
Right.
I see. Did you have any employment when you were in grade school or high school?
When I was in my early teens, I was working for my uncle in the celery field.
I see. What was his name?
Jacob Slager.
Okay. Okay. And then were you drafted into the military?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So you got a draft notice, I assume, is that right, Ken?
I'd have signed up for the draft on my birthday in June, and in early September, I was sent to Detroit for physical.
I see. How long after high school was that when you were drafted?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to Detroit then? Did you take a train, or how did you get there? Do you remember?
I think by train.
Okay.
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that's the way we went.
And that was the entrance station then, or the draft
Right.
station then for the
Yeah.
military. And what happened there then?
Well, as I was being processed, they asked for volunteers for the Marine Corps. They needed a few men, and if you would volunteer, you could go back home for 2 weeks. And that sounded pretty good to me, so I signed up.
Did they give you any assurance of any sort of military occupational specialty or MOS at all?
No.
The drafting,
No.
at the draft board there? So you had 2 extra weeks then of civilian life. Is that right?
Went back to work.
Okay. Did you go back then to Detroit for after the 2 weeks, or did you go someplace else?
No. We boarded a bus for Chicago, and in Chicago they put us in a Pullman car. I had an upper berth, which was pretty nice, and we clickety-clacked across the country to Los Angeles.
Okay. Where did you go through basic training then?
San Diego.
San Diego, Marine Corps Recruit Depot then, right?
Right.
Okay. How long were you there at basic
About
training?
4 months. 2 months in boot camp, and 2 months in infantry training.
I see. Where was the infantry training? Was that at San Diego also?
The what?
The infantry training? Was that at San Diego?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of your drill instructors? What they were like, or do you remember their names or anything by any chance?
Well, I know he had a strong voice. I'm trying to recall his name, but I can't recall his name now. But he put us through our paces. He was an excellent DI.
And you could hear him across the drill deck, I'll bet.
That's
too,
right. Yeah.
You could probably still hear that voice sometimes.
Yeah. When we were in the rifle range, we were returning from an evening program about 4 or 5 platoons, and he was calling the cadence for all 5 platoons.
Yeah. What were the first few days of your service and your training and basic training? What were they like? What do you remember about them?
I really don't remember much at all.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm drawing pretty much of a blank there. I know I got rid of my civilian clothes and got GI clothes, sent the other clothes back home.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
But any particular instances that come back to your mind as far as the drill instructor yelling at you or hollering at everybody, or trying to get you to line up?
He was
and
very
march?
strict. And one fellow, instead of washing his clothes, he would just take one of his briefs and just get it wet and hang it up, and he got caught at it. So the DI told him to throw it on the ground, which was red clay. Then he marched the platoon back and forth over it. He said, "Now you get it clean."
So you had to wash your own clothing then?
Oh yeah, every evening.
They expected you to use soap and water, I suppose.
Yeah, whatever they had there. At least our underwear.
Mm.
Yeah.
What did it feel like then, the first few days in basic training?
I probably felt lost. I wasn't at home, and I wasn't completely comfortable there either, I guess. It took a while to adjust.
Yeah, you weren't really used to it yet.
Right. But they didn't give you a lot of time to think about it.
And that helps probably.
Right. Woke you up early in the morning and kept you busy all the time until it was time to get back in the sack.
Mm. Was even the evenings, was that pretty much regimented as far as with training and doing things with the drill instructor?
The what?
The evenings after the evening meal? Were you busy at that time also with the drill instructor?
Doing the infantry training, you mean?
Well, in basic training, after the evening meal, or did you have evenings to yourself?
They found things to do, yeah.
They kept
polish
you busy
your rifle, or polish your shoes, or
right, yeah.
Clean your rifle, I should say. Polish your shoes.
Well, how did you get through the basic training then?
How did I get through it?
How did you get through it? Yeah.
I did what I was told.
You followed instructions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you do your rifle training then?
Where?
Where?
I don't remember where. I know it was up in the higher elevation, and it got very cold at night.
But near San Diego, is that right?
Not too far from San Diego, in that area, general area. Mm-hmm. When we'd go out to the rifle range in the morning, we had to have plenty of clothes on to stay warm. By the time we came back at noon, we had most of it off.
Because pretty warm.
Yeah.
And how long were you there then?
3 weeks of rifle.
3 weeks.
And the first full week was only just snapping in. We never did any actual firing.
Where they taught you how to hold a rifle and how to adjust the sling properly and all that.
Right.
That's a interesting term, snapping in.
Yeah.
They still use it in the Marine Corps.
I suppose. Yeah.
One of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you go after basic training? Did you go to advanced training after that?
Infantry training, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And that was also at San Diego, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long were you in infantry training?
2 months.
Okay.
Yeah. We were.
Backing up just a bit here, Ken, when did you enter the military then? Or when were you drafted? What date?
September, let's see, 20, 2 weeks after the 9th anyway.
So you were at the entrance station there?
About 23, I guess.
On the 9th,
23.
so around the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
What year then was that?
1943.
43, okay. Okay. And what did you do in infantry training when you went to infantry training in San Diego?
Well,
what sort of things did you learn? And
mostly just do as you're told, I guess.
Well, did you learn about specific weapons like machine guns or?
Yeah, several.
Bazookas and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was on the rifle range.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, the rifle range was part of the infantry training, is that right?
Right.
I see.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah. And then at the end of basic training and infantry training, that's, I assume, when you graduated, is that right?
Yeah, they had after near the end of the 3 weeks, they had you'd fire for record.
Mm-hmm.
And the fellow next to me, his target didn't have any holes, and mine had a lot of them. So I think I got his shots. Credit for his shots.
So you had more holes in your target than you had bullet casings, is that right?
Yeah.
That would give you a good high score.
Yeah, it did, unfortunately. I was qualified as a BA Airman, Browning automatic rifle.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
When did you graduate, though, from basic training? Do you remember that? That's usually a big parade, isn't it?
I don't think it was that much for us. It was wartime, and they were just interested in getting us overseas.
I see.
I suppose there was some kind of ceremony, but I don't remember it at all.
Okay. Where did you go after San Diego, then?
Well, we got aboard the USS President Tyler, 2,700 of us, and took a 28-day trip to Guadalcanal,
Okay.
stopping at New Caledonia on the way. We crossed the Pacific all by ourselves. No escort, no protection.
What sort of ship had the SS President Tyler been? Was that had that been a passenger ship?
I guess so, and probably retired.
What was your? Did you have a regular stateroom?
Oh, no. We had about 4 bunks in a tier, and
4 bunks stacked up, one on top of the other.
right.
Okay.
And I was not on the top, but I was not on the bottom either, thankfully.
So you went to Guadalcanal, and you mentioned you stopped on one island.
That's we went over as a replacement battalion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what the battalion designation was? The battalion or regiment that you were in?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. It was just a replacement battalion. I don't remember the number.
Mm-hmm. And you eventually went to Guadalcanal, but I thought you mentioned you also had stopped at another island.
New Caledonia.
New Caledonia. Okay. Yeah. What did you do in New Caledonia?
They unloaded some fresh fruit, which we never had.
Well, that was a treat, I'll bet, for a few days anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
They managed to break a crate or two, I think, while they were unloading.
And at this point, as you're going overseas, what was your military specialty there? Were you a BAR, Browning automatic rifleman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So infantryman then, right?
Yep, that was my...
Okay. And once you got to Guadalcanal, what sort of a situation did you encounter there then, when you got to Guadalcanal?
Well, we just were assigned to a particular place where they had tents set up for us, and we were waiting to be assigned to specific units.
Yeah, you were replacement
right,
personnel then?
And after a few days, they put up a notice that everyone 6 feet or more tall to fall out at such and such a date. And I did, of course. And a short captain came and asked a few questions. And a day or two later, I was assigned to a MP company.
I see. When you first arrived, though, in Guadalcanal, Ken, was the fighting still going on, or?
No, it was secured.
The island was fairly secure. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you joined the MPs then, Ken. What was your unit designation at that point?
It was the MP company, and H&S Battalion, 3rd Amphibious Corps.
Okay.
General Geiger was commander. Roi S. Geiger.
That's a famous name from
Yes.
World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did you go through specific training at all to be an MP, or?
I don't remember. I suppose they taught us a few things.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one thing they said, when you're wearing that brassard, you're just like Jesus Christ. I didn't quite agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
what they meant was you were in charge.
And that's probably why they wanted people 6 feet or over,
Right.
so that you could be in charge. You would look
Yeah.
like you're in charge.
Right.
Yeah. What was your actual job assignment then as a military policeman?
Well, we did various things. During the invasions, we would sometimes escort the admirals and generals who would come to view things. We would take care of the main gate, if there was such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'd raise and lower the colors every day, part of our task. Supervise or work in the brig, make sure everybody stayed there.
The brig or jail, right?
There's no place to go if they got out, so it wasn't too much of a problem. But, yeah, and direct traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Were you broken up into, where the company was broken up into platoons, or did you have squads, or?
no, not in the MP company. No, we. I suppose we fall out in formation, but they didn't have us working as separately as platoons or anything.
Would you be assigned like 2 or 3 or 4 to a detail like the main gate, or?
Yeah, they'd give us assignments every day or
But it wouldn't
so.
be on your own specifically. You'd probably would have 2 or 3 other MPs
Right.
helping you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very often.
yeah. Did you see combat when you were in the Marine Corps?
Well, yes and no. I was not involved in combat as such. We were close to the front lines more than one occasion. We were close enough that the cook was killed by a I had the word and I forgot.
Mortar round?
A mortar
Okay.
dropped right in his foxhole.
Oh,
Yeah, but for the most part, we were behind the lines because we were Headquarters Battalion.
now other than the cook you just mentioned, were there any other casualties in your unit, like in H&S company, or?
No, nothing too serious. The only thing I can remember is there was a fellow by the name of Joe Sokolowski, and he always walked with really sticking out his chest and going through the line to get shots, and he keeled over. He wasn't such a
Wasn't such a he-man at that
No.
point. Yeah. What was his last name? What was Joe's last name again?
Sokolowski.
Okay.
Sokolowski, I think, something like that.
Do you recall where he was from?
I think Chicago area.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Did he eventually revive himself, or?
I don't remember, but
Okay. Sometimes
he stayed.
he stayed in. Okay. Can you tell me about any other memorable experiences you had there?
Yes.
You know, maybe in policing the other Marines or other Navy personnel or whatever.
I remember I was on guard duty guarding the general's tent, and at about 6 o'clock in the morning he came out of the tent, and his question was, how did the boys do during the night?
Oh,
Which, in reflecting on that, told me he was concerned about the personnel, their safety. Of course, I had no idea how they had, but there had not been much firing that I'd heard, so.
it's probably kind of a surprise question to you, I would assume. You know,
Yeah.
as if you thought you had just come from the intelligence tent or something.
Right. Yeah. And another outstanding thing in my mind on Okinawa was I was directing traffic after Well, let me back up a little bit. We had a season of rain, almost 3 weeks, continuous rain, where they couldn't get through on the roads. They had to bring things up to the front on the beach using amphibious tractors. So once it dried up, they had to remove lots of bodies. And I remember a truck, a 4x6 truck coming by with bodies just loaded on it like cordwood, taking them from the front. And that was quite traumatic, of course.
Yeah. Some kind of stock and trade questions here then, Ken. Were you ever a prisoner of war?
Was I a prisoner of
Were
war?
you a POW? No.
No.
Okay.
I guarded a few prisoners, but I was never a prisoner of war.
Right. Were you ever wounded in action?
No.
Okay.
No.
Were you awarded any individual medals or citations for individual bravery or anything like that?
No, nothing like that either.
Okay. Let me stop. Ken, how long did you stay on Guadalcanal before moving on? Roughly.
I don't know. It was not very long when we went on our first push, which was Guam.
So after Guadalcanal, you went to Guam then, is that right?
But that was the invasion of Guam.
Okay.
Then we went back to Guadalcanal, and then was the invasion of Okinawa.
How long were you on Guam?
I don't recall.
Okay. And again,
It
that
didn't take long because it was a small island, and the people there knew what the American troops were like, and so they were gladly welcomed us.
So they
The other
welcomed you
islands,
ashore,
the Japanese told them we were terrible people, but on Guam they knew better
and surprised that wasn't the case.
because of U.S. possession.
Yeah.
Had been.
So you went to Guam and then you went back to
Okinawa.
Guadalcanal for
Back to Guadalcanal.
a time? And then from Guadalcanal the second time, where did you go after that?
Then we were on an invasion of Okinawa.
Okay. Did you actually participate in the invasion, or was that shortly after the invasion?
Well, part of the invasion, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went in D-Day plus 1 or 2.
Okay. How was that? What was that like once you got ashore on Okinawa?
Well,
Because you were quite close to the at the time of the invasion, only a day or two after.
right. Nothing comes to mind right now except what we talked about earlier, of course. Some of the things we talked about were on Okinawa.
Do you remember what part of the island on Okinawa that you landed on?
No, I don't.
Okay. No particular
I know
villages?
that the Marines landed next to the Army, and we swept north, but there was no opposition. In just a few days, we were back on the line down on the south end of the island.
I see.
Yeah.
But again, at that point, you were in the military policeman then at that point. So you were directing traffic and guarding the main gate and things like that to the compounds.
Guarding generals and admirals.
Okay.
And escorting them.
Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit about that then, Ken. Escorting the generals and the bigwigs. Did they travel around a lot, or
Well,
summer?
They would come just to see how things were going, I guess. Get fairly close to the front lines, check things out. Our job was to protect them, make sure they didn't get fired on by any enemies.
I assume they were in a Jeep
Yeah.
most of the time. And did you have like a convoy of, did you have other Jeeps or,
Yeah, usually
or trucks that you were in?
we one Jeep ahead with several us in it.
Mm-hmm. And probably a Jeep or a truck in the back?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they would at least get to the front line. Do they visit other commanders with other
I
other
imagine
units?
that was the idea. We didn't get involved in that. We were just there to make sure they were kept safe.
You just went wherever they told you to go, right?
Right.
So I'm assuming you guarded the commanding general for the 3rd Amphibious Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And that was General Geiger, is that right?
Yeah, Roi
Okay.
Geiger.
Yeah. What was he like? What kind of a general was he? Was he pleasant or hard-nosed or?
No, he was not hard-nosed. No, at least as far as I didn't see that much of him, but what I did see of him, he was pretty much of a personal person, I guess
Mm-hmm.
you'd say.
Personable? Yeah.
Personable. Mm-hmm.
Now that's a famous name. What was he really known for? Did he go on to command an army, or
He became commandant, I think, of the Marine Corps.
okay? Would that have been after the war then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Vandergrift was commandant during the war.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he had been commandant of the 3rd Amphibious Corps as well.
Was General Vandergrift, was he commanding general during the invasion of Guadalcanal? Do you remember?
Geiger was.
Oh, Geiger was. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at that point then.
Guadalcanal?
On Guadalcanal.
No, I think Vandergrift was then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he became the commandant of the Marine Corps.
Right.
And then after the war, General Geiger became commandant.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I recall the name from, I guess.
Yeah.
The list of commandants.
He was commander of the 3rd Amphibious Corps.
Let me just ask you, Ray, then, how did you keep in touch with your family then? By letter or telephone or what?
No telephone, just by what they called V-mail.
I've heard of
write
that.
it, and they would
What was that like, the V-mail?
take a picture of it, and they could get it on film on a very small space.
I see.
And then when it got to the States, they would
Develop it
duplicate
and print it.
enlarge it again, and send it to the family. Yeah.
Yeah. And were you able to get mail back then from the States too?
Oh, yeah.
Was it the same way by V-mail?
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Mm-hmm. Or regular mail, too.
yeah.
Took a while, often, to catch up with us.
What was the food like then overseas? What kind of food did you have?
Rations most of the time, a good share of the time, I should say. But for the most part, we had good warm meals.
Mm-hmm. So hot meals and did you have like mess halls?
Not the first few days of an invasion, you
No.
wouldn't, of
Yeah.
course. But after they got set up the kitchen, we had pretty good meals.
Did you have like a regular mess hall, or be it
Oh, yeah.
more like a tent, or?
Probably a tent, yes. a large tent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the important thing is at least the meal was hot, right?
right.
And did you have plenty, or did you have enough supplies, I would say? Supplies
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
as far as clothing and...
when we were on MP duty, we could go to the front of the chow line. That was
Oh, I see.
nice for us, but the other guys didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, but if you go through the chow line real quick, then you got to go back on duty, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the idea. Probably got a half hour for meal time.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel any stressful situations, when you were deployed overseas?
No. I suppose at times I did, but the most difficult experience for me was right after Okinawa was secured. My cousin was in the Army and was assigned to Okinawa. He came ashore a day or two about the time it was secured,
Mm-hmm.
and he was standing guard duty 2 days after the island was declared secure, and a sniper shot him. My folks sent me a letter telling me that he was on Okinawa and where he was, and asked me to look him up, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did around caught a ride to the other side of the island, and found his sergeant. I said, "Do you have a Jim Slager here?" And he said, "We had a Jim Slager."
He was killed in action?
Yeah, he was by a sniper.
Yes. Yeah.
While he was standing guard duty. Like I say, just a couple days after he was on Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
And the island was supposedly secure.
Secured at that point.
Yeah. But I could not write that home.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have, if I had, it would have been blacked out.
They would have deleted it out of the
So
email.
the folks kept writing me, "Do you know anything about Jim? Do you know anything about Jim?" And I couldn't answer
Mm-hmm.
till, I suppose, about 30 days they notified the parents.
Mm-hmm. So eventually, Jim's parents were notified by the military, and
You're right.
the word probably got back to your folks that
Oh, yeah.
he'd been killed.
Yeah, they lived a few blocks from each other.
Oh, my. Yeah. How did you and your fellow Marines entertain yourselves overseas? Anything in particular?
Well, we played a lot of volleyball, which
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
makes sense with 6 feet, everybody 6 feet tall or taller. That was one way.
They must have been the games of the MPs versus the infantry, right?
No, usually just among ourselves.
Oh.
Yeah. And usually once the island was secured, to have a day on and a day off of duty.
Mm-hmm.
And the day off you could play volleyball, polish your shoes, or
Rest a little bit.
whatever, wash your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And they often had programs in the evening, movies of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Take those in.
Did you have entertainers like the Bob Hope troupe that visited
We
the
never
island or
had Bob
anything?
Hope, no.
Okay. Any other entertainer groups? Or?
Not that I can recall,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Okay, after Okinawa, where did you go then, Ken?
After Okinawa was secured, we went to Guam, back to Guam.
Back to Guam?
And we're preparing to invade Tokyo Bay. That was our next assignment.
Mm-hmm. And that would have been Japan then.
Right.
What happened to stop that?
Well, President Harry Truman, decided to drop the atomic bomb. And subsequently, the Japanese surrendered.
Mm-hmm. Were you on Guam at the time then when that happened?
Yeah.
When
Mm-hmm.
the bombs were dropped and then the
Right.
surrender?
Yes.
Okay. Then after VJ Day, where did you go after that?
Then we went to Tencent, China,
Okay.
and we were there 4 months.
Were you on duty there then, or was that
Oh, yeah.
on duty? Okay.
Yeah. I guess they were afraid that the Russians were going to invade China,
Mm-hmm.
and we were there to see that didn't happen.
Were you posted at a military base, or?
Well, we had no, it was not a military base. It was converted into a military base, but it was just a large building. What had been before, I don't recall.
Mm-hmm.
But the headquarters were right in the downtown area,
Mm-hmm.
another building which we had to
You guarded that then as an MP?
make sure
Yeah.
that was secure. Mm-hmm. And
Okay. Were you there with other large infantry units too? I mean, a lot of other military personnel in China, in Tianjin?
well, that I don't really know. I'm sure there were,
Mhm.
but we didn't see many of them. We had basically Marine Corps and Navy personnel on our base,
Mm-hmm.
and they some of them would see the town in the evening. We had to make sure they got the right treatment after they came in. If they were obviously had taken too much alcohol,
Mm-hmm. Get
They
them to
went
their barracks.
directly to sick bay.
Were you able to travel at all in China on your own, or I mean on leave or
Not
anything?
on my own. They did give us 1 week where our unit, or a good share of our unit, went to Beijing for the week. We
I
did
see.
a lot of looking around the city.
Mm-hmm. It was like a period of R&R, or rest and recuperation.
Right. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then after your 4 months in China, where did you go from there?
Yeah, we boarded the USS Roi, R-O-I, and sailed for San Diego. We stopped in Pearl Harbor for 12 hours.
Oh,
Nobody got off ship. But we saw our first Coca-Cola truck in 2 years, which was kind of interesting. And then we went to right into San Diego.
hmm And how long did you spend in San Diego then?
Not very long, just a few days, and then they shipped me to Great Lakes Naval Training Station for discharge.
Okay. So that's where you were discharged, was in Great
Mhm.
Lakes, Illinois then?
Right.
Okay. What date was that? Do you remember?
The date?
Or even the month and year?
Early March. I
Okay.
think I got home about March 5th or something.
And what year was that?
That would be 46.
Okay. And after that, did you come back to Comstock, Kalamazoo? And,
Went home
okay.
gladly. Yeah.
What do you remember about your first few days out of the Marine Corps and out of the military? Anything particular there?
No, I don't have any recollection. I guess I went back to work
Okay.
for my uncle on the celery farm. And then the fall, September, I enrolled in Calvin College.
Oh, in what college? Oh, in Calvin College?
Mhm.
I see.
Yeah, pre-sem course, pre-seminary. I decided while I was overseas, well, actually, while I was overseas, that I became a committed Christian and decided to go into the ministry.
What sort of a conversion experience did you have there when you were overseas? Anything specific about that?
No, I just know that when it happened, I was Well, just there were other fellows who were also committed Christians, and we soon were together at different times when we were off duty.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in China, we went to different Youth for Christ meetings that they had there. That's where we met a lady by the name of Mrs. Fan.
So Mrs. Fan?
Mrs. Fan,
F-A-N?
F-A-N.
Okay.
And she had us for dinner several times. Didn't hurt that she had 2 or 3 young daughters. But it was a very nice family.
Mm-hmm.
She had been in the States for a while, so she spoke very good English, and
So that was a connection then.
yeah,
The language.
Her husband was in South China, overseeing some mining operation, and we never met him. But anyway, she even wrote a letter or two to my mother, to my folks.
Oh.
Yeah. Very nice lady. And
Did you take any photographs when you were overseas?
I did not know.
Photographs? Okay.
I did get pictures from other people, but I didn't have a camera myself.
Again, when you enrolled in Calvin College as an undergraduate, did you know at that point that you wanted to go on and go through seminary and become a minister?
Oh yes, my course was pre-seminary course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Along with a lot of other vets.
Mm-hmm. Did you have the GI Bill to help pay for?
Yes, I did.
Pay for that? Okay.
For all of the 7 years except for 1 semester. And then my wife was teaching, so we could live on her quote-unquote salary.
And you went through Calvin Seminary also?
Right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For 3 years.
And you became a ordained Christian Reformed Minister.
Right.
Right.
Willmar, Minnesota. Willmar.
Minnesota. That was your first church then, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that was a Willmar CRC, Christian Reformed Church?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a new congregation. I was the first resident pastor.
Let me back up. You gave me a little clue here that you were married. When did you marry, and what was her name?
My wife's maiden name was Alice Klein, K-L-E-I-N.
I see. And when?
And we were married on August 26, 1949.
49. Was she a fellow student at
Yes.
Calvin? That's how you met her?
We met on the first day I was on campus. She had grown up in Detroit and had worked for Sanders Candy Company for several years, and then came to Calvin. She had been there about a week, I think, helping out with enrollment and so on, working in the office. And another fella from Kalamazoo and I were walking together. We had just signed up for the GI Bill, and I was telling him they were going to send our applications to Detroit. As she was coming down the steps, and she said, "Detroit, Detroit. Did you say Detroit?" Well, that's when we met. But
that's how you met.
But
talking about Detroit.
But we didn't date until the following March.
I see.
And then I had asked Harvey Bolcha, my roommate, exactly who she was. I couldn't recall which lady gal it was. I knew I wanted to meet her, but I couldn't remember who she was. And he told me.
Yeah. Well, backing up just a second here, back to your time after the military then, Ken, did you make any lasting relationships with the people that you served with in the Marine Corps?
For a year or two, we did, and I don't remember how many years it was afterwards. We had a gathering in the Illinois area, but that was the only time. I did keep in touch with a few individuals.
Oh, do you remember their names?
Especially one in California. His name won't come to me now.
Okay,
But
that's all right.
Russ Carver.
Russ Carver?
Russ Carver.
C-A-R-V-E-R?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he was in California then, right?
He lived in Northern California.
Okay. Did you join any veterans organizations?
No.
Okay.
No, I was busy enough without.
All right. Then you get the church-affiliated organizations keeping you going. Okay. Now, Ken, I thought I would have you, speak a little bit about where you served as a minister in the Christian Reformed Church. You mentioned Willmar, Minnesota as your first church. Where did you go after Willmar?
A church called Lincoln Center, which was in Grundy Center, Iowa.
I see.
And then to the northwest Iowa, a town called Sibley.
Okay.
And from there I went to Vancouver, Washington, where I was a initial pastor of a new congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And then after...
Was that Vancouver Trinity?
Vancouver, Washington.
Was that Trinity Christian Reformed Church? Or?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In Vancouver, Washington?
Yeah. It's right on the Columbia River across from Portland, Oregon. And then I went to Monroe, Washington, which is northeast of Seattle.
Okay. Was that New Hope Fellowship?
That's what they call it now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name now then. Okay. I understand. When did you retire then?
1983. My pension began in January 1 of 1983.
I see. Did you retire in 1988 though?
Pardon?
Was it actually 1988 when you stopped working?
Well, it was actually just the November of '87.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. As far as Social Security was concerned, but as far as the pension, I was January 1 of '88. So.
Okay. After you served your last church, you retired from the Christian Reformed Church then as a minister. Ken, where did you move from there?
So we moved back to Michigan to my hometown and to the house I grew up in.
I see.
And we were there about 19 years. Then we moved to Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm. Did your parents live in the house when you first moved back?
They know that my father had died, and my mother was in assisted living, and the house was vacant.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
I retired a little bit early and moved in and kind of helped take care of my mother.
Right. Ken, let me just ask you about your military experience and how that might have influenced your thinking about war and the military in general. And let me also add your later experience as a minister. Either of those things, your experience in the military particularly.
I think the one thing that I got into because of my military experience was chaplain for the Civil Air Patrol.
I see.
And that was ended up being about 35 years in different locations.
Oh.
Including Vancouver and Monroe, Everett, Washington, and Kalamazoo and Battle Creek, Michigan, after I moved back here.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to fly with some of the pilots with Civil Air Patrol?
One time.
Oh, one time. Okay, you were mainly a chaplain then.
and my wife and the youngest daughter went along too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. But again, did your experience in the military and later as a minister, did that particularly affect your thinking of about the military and war in general?
Probably. I don't recall that it, that I specifically applied military
Sure.
experience, but I'm sure that it affected me.
Okay. Again, we have several medals and a patch here. What is this patch?
That's the designation of 3rd Amphibious Corps.
And you wore that on your uniform?
Yes.
Is that right?
On our sleeve.
All right. And what is this medal?
World War II.
The World War II medal, right? And this is the Asia Pacific campaign?
Yes. And China.
And China service. Okay. Okay, this brochure looks like a religious service order of worship. Is that right?
Yes, at the conclusion of the war, the gratitude for peace,
I see.
that the war was over.
And this booklet here, what is that?
That's just telling about the first activities of the 3rd Amphibious Corps,
I see.
up until including the island of Guam, invasion of Guam.
Okay. Now the garrison cover here, Ken, what is that? Was that yours during the war?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes.
With the
Part of my uniform.
Eagle, Globe, and Anchor here.
That's right. Eagle, Globe, and Anchor.
All right. Well, Ken, we're about at the end here. Let me just ask you, is there anything else you would like to add to the interview?
That I'd like to add?
Yeah, right.
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Thankfully got home safely.
Well, we're glad that came about.
Yeah.
We're glad the Lord watched over you while you were overseas.
Right.
And watched over your family.
Yes.
Throughout your career as a minister here in the United States.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you about your sharing your recollections with us about your military service. I want to add that the interview is going to be part of the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. And also at the will be part of the archive at Grand Valley State University, Allendale, Michigan. Again, I want to thank you for participating in the
Well,
Veterans History interview.
Thank you for asking me,
You're quite welcome. Thank you,
including
Ken.
me.